Hello and thank you for choosing Exaprise. In this video, we'll be covering troubleshooting Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365 using our CloudReady sensors and Service Watch. With a large number of companies moving towards virtual desktops for end users, it's important to be aware of how impactful poorly performing virtual machines or outages can be. Issues such as these can be very costly on top of the service itself already being expensive. The issues can be extremely impactful to the end user's productivity and lead to extreme frustration and, in certain cases, lost work. Monitoring AVD is quite complicated. There is a lack of information provided by Microsoft when it comes to troubleshooting and monitoring in general. To add to the complexity, there are different methods for accessing AVD, either through the browser or through provided clients. Without monitoring how the end user browsers and remote desktop clients are performing when accessing AVD, troubleshooting becomes extremely complicated and time-consuming. You have to spend time figuring out if the issue is with the internal network, across the internet, and then into the Microsoft infrastructure. You also need to make sure there are no issues with the user's machine, the virtual machine itself, how they're connecting, and again on the Microsoft side. Our CloudReady AVD sensor, once deployed, will begin proactively testing the AVD infrastructure and virtual machine configured to be monitored during the deployment process. Each time the sensor runs, it goes through the entire process as if an end user was logging into the virtual machine. In doing so, it collects metrics that are key to identifying issues. When looking at the sensor, the host interactive and host authentication times spiking are usually caused by issues on the Azure infrastructure side, pointing out slow login times and response times prior to connecting to the actual remote machine. The gateway orchestration and WebSocket connect time being elevated reflects the response times post-login but prior to starting the connection to the virtual machine. And finally, the RDP established time is how long it takes for the RDP session to get fully logged in. The login and authentication times under the Login and Render tab will reflect slow logins, which could indicate an issue with single sign-on, for example. Finally, the Connect tab will reflect performance impacts with the connection times from the site running the sensor. High SSL negotiation times are typically related to congested networks, whereas proxy connect time spikes could indicate a poorly configured proxy for the application. The network path performance at the bottom will provide you with a breakdown of the connection from where the sensor is running to Azure Virtual Desktop. Use this to see exactly where slowdowns are happening and quickly resolve networking issues when possible. Each one of the metrics is crowdsourced. This allows you to quickly benchmark yourself against the other Exaprise customers. Also, if the Azure infrastructure is being affected by something, the crowd will spike alongside you, which is great for knowing if the issue is only with your tenant or everyone else is being affected. Deploying Service Watch to both the end user's device and the virtual machine can be beneficial. By doing so, you'll have 360-degree visibility into your AVD or Windows 365 infrastructure. By deploying to the end user's device, you can track any machine and network performance issues such as poor Wi-Fi or Ethernet, or CPU, memory, and disk issues. Service Watch also captures the MSRDC and MSRDCW executables, which are part of the client used to connect to the virtual machines. You can drill into the Stream Networking section for visibility into the connection from the Service Watch machine to Azure Virtual Desktop. This will point out where slowdowns are happening, and you can use the filters to find the highest round-trip times, jitter, and packet loss. If users access AVD through a browser, Service Watch browser will detect issues with the initial page performance when users access AVD and launch a session. This can be used to track where slowdowns are occurring when accessing the Azure Virtual Desktop resources. You can use the filters to see only the AVD metrics, and the Transactions tab at the top will list out all of the transactions for the monitored domains. You can select one for a breakdown of users that initiated the transaction and see any long web requests the users experienced. You can also use the Users tab at the top to get a per-user view into the browser performance while accessing AVD. On the virtual machine, deploying Service Watch will allow you to monitor how the applications are performing from the VM. Whether it be a web-based application's metrics being collected by Service Watch browser or the executables being ran, you'll have all of the data needed to troubleshoot. Due to the restrictions in the Microsoft infrastructure, collecting the streamed and connected networking information from Service Watch may be skewed. By running Service Watch active testing or low-level network sensors such as VoIP sensors from the virtual machine, you can get a much truer representation of how everything is running. This could be useful to ensure there are no issues with VPNs, networks, bandwidth, or VoIP issues. As an example, configuring a VoIP or bandwidth sensor to run from the virtual machine to a receiver in an office users are working from would proactively monitor the performance between the two. If the sensors detect performance drops, you could be notified in your preferred communication method and relay this to end users to let them know they may have a poorer experience while the issue is looked into, allowing you to get ahead of ticket spikes. As you can see, our CloudReady Synthetics and Service Watch truly work better together and accomplish a full 360-degree view into Azure Virtual Desktop. They also provide proactive monitoring and alerts, exponentially speeding up diagnosing and troubleshooting Azure Virtual Desktop to ensure your end users have a great experience. That's a wrap for our video. Thanks for watching.